Hey everyone, imagine this. You're an ancient rebel leader, staring at the walls of your city, and suddenly massive stone carvings appear overnight, showing your people being flayed alive, impaled on stakes, their heads dangling from trees like grim ornaments. That's not just art, it's a message from a king who does not need to fight every battle, because fear does the work for him. Today, we're diving into the wild story of Ashurbanipal, the Assyrian ruler who conquered empires, not just with armies, but with sheer terror and clever mind games. Stick around, because by the end, you will see how one man's blend of brutality and brains shaped the ancient world, and maybe even echoes in today's power plays. If you're loving these deep dives into forgotten kings and epic histories, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more. Let's jump in. We start in the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, around 685 BC, where the mighty Assyrian Empire pulses like a living beast, stretching from the Mediterranean Sea to the Persian Gulf. Picture a young boy, Ashurbanipal, growing up in the shadow of his father, King Esarhaddon, a man haunted by prophecies and rebellions. Unlike most princes who just learn to swing a sword, Ashurbanipal gets a double education: the grit of the battlefield and the quiet power of the scribe's stylus. He's drilling in archery, chariotry, and horseback riding by day, but at night, he's poring over clay tablets, mastering ancient Sumerian scripts and Akkadian riddles. Why? Because in Assyria, a king isn't just a warrior. He's a god's chosen, wise enough to outthink his enemies before the first arrow flies. But here's the twist. Ashurbanipal wasn't the obvious heir. He had older brothers, including Shamash-Shamukin, who seemed destined for greatness. Yet, in a move that sparks whispers across the palace, Esarhaddon names Ashurbanipal crown prince of Assyria in 672 BC, while shoving his brother onto the throne of Babylon as a puppet ruler. Was it divine will, as the inscriptions claim, or a clever ploy to divide and conquer his own family? Imagine the tension in those royal halls, brothers eyeing each other, oaths sworn under the watchful gaze of the Queen Mother, who seals the deal with ironclad treaties. Ashurbanipal steps up young, handling spies, quelling hill tribes, even running the empire while his dad chases glory in Egypt. When Esarhaddon dies on the road in 669 BC, Ashurbanipal ascends without a hitch, his throne secured by loyalty oaths from nobles and kin. But peace, that's just the calm before the storm. Now, let's crank up the drama with his first big test, Egypt. That glittering prize of the Nile, Assyria had already poked the hornet's nest under Esarhaddon, conquering the delta and slapping down Pharaoh Taharka. But Taharka, sly as a crocodile, rallies and invades again, whispering alliances to local princes. Ashurbanipal, he doesn't blink. He unleashes his forces in a lightning strike, smashing Taharka's army at Karbanichu and reclaiming Memphis. Picture the chaos: Assyrian chariots thundering through the sands, arrows blotting the sun, Egyptian warriors fleeing into the reeds. Taharka bolts south, but Ashurbanipal isn't done. He rounds up the traitorous princes, hauls them to Nineveh in chains. Some say he even made one live in a dog kennel with a hook through his jaw. Brutal, absolutely, but effective. He installs loyal puppets like Nechoi, forging treaties that buy peace for a while. Then comes Tanutaman, Taharka's successor, charging north like a vengeful storm. In 664 BC, he seizes Memphis, dreams of reclaiming Thebes, Ashurbanipal counters with fury, sacking Thebes in 663 BC, the holy city of Amun, piled high with gold and gods' statues. His troops strip it bare, carting off treasures that would make your eyes water: silver, electrum, lapis lazuli. Thebes falls silent, its people deported or broken. Why so harsh? To send a shiver down every spine in the empire. Ashurbanipal's annals gloat about it, painting him as the god's avenger. But here's where fear kicks in. He doesn't occupy Egypt forever. He pulls back, letting locals rule under his shadow, knowing the memory of that sack will keep them in line longer than any garrison. Egypt slips away by 654 BC, but Ashurbanipal's legend as the Nile's nightmare endures. Shifting gears to the west, Tyre, that stubborn Phoenician port city, dares to back Egypt and flirt with independence. Ashurbanipal besieges it, cutting off water and food until the king bends the knee. Nearby, Lydia's Gyges begs for help against Cimmerian hordes, but Ashurbanipal snubs him at first, only allying later when it suits. These moves aren't just wins, they're chess plays, using distance and denial to wear down foes. But the real gut-wrencher, the brewing storm in Babylon, where brother turns on brother. For 16 years, Shamash-shum-ukin plays the loyal sibling, ruling Babylon under Ashurbanipal's thumb. But resentment festers. Babylonians chafe at Assyrian taxes, their ancient pride stung. In 652 BC, Shamash-shum-ukin snaps, forging a massive coalition. Elamites, Arabs, Chaldeans, even whispers from Egypt and Judah. It's the ultimate betrayal, a civil war that could shatter the empire. Ashurbanipal, ever the strategist, doesn't rush in. He imposes loyalty tests, special taxes to sniff out traitors, then lays sieges on key cities. Famine grips Babylon. Stories swirl of people eating leather, even their own kin in desperation. Elam waffles, torn by internal squabbles, and Arab allies desert when the going gets tough. The siege drags on 3 brutal years, suspense building like a noose tightening. Finally, in 648 BC, Babylon cracks. Shamash-shum-ukin, trapped in his palace, sets it ablaze. Some say he leaps into the flames himself, a fiery end to fraternal hate. Ashurbanipal enters as conqueror, but not destroyer. He rebuilds temples, appoints a new viceroy, Kandalanu, and spins the tale as divine justice. Yet, the propaganda machine revs up. Inscriptions describe rebels' horrors, their bodies fed to dogs and birds to warn any would-be traitors. Imagine the psychological punch, your own brother reduced to ash, his allies scattered. It cements Ashurbanipal's image, merciful to the loyal, merciless to the rest. But Elam, that thorn in Assyria's side, can't stay quiet. They'd backed the Babylon rebellion, so Ashurbanipal turns his gaze east. First, in 653 BC, the Battle of Ulai, Elamite king Toyamon charges, but Assyrian arrows turn the river red with blood. Toymon's head rolls, literally brought back to Nineveh as a trophy. Ashurbanipal installs puppets, but when they rebel, he goes all in. By 647 BC, he sacks Susa Elam's heart. Temples razed, statues smashed, royal tombs desecrated, their king's bones carted off to Assyria, denying them afterlife peace. He sows the fields with salt, turns the land to wasteland. Genocide, some call it that, with deportations emptying cities. Why so extreme? To erase Elam from the map, a lesson etched in ruin. His reliefs show it all. Elamites flayed, tongues ripped out, women and children fleeing. Fear wasn't just a tool, it was his weapon of mass deterrence. Don't overlook the Arabs, those nomadic raiders striking at Assyria. Ashurbanipal hunts them down in the desert, beating tribes like Kedar and Nabayati. He captures leaders like Uwait, parades them in chains, even hitches one to his chariot like a beast. Brutal scenes in his art, pregnant women gutted, bodies piled high, suspense in these tales, the endless pursuits, mirages in the sand, until thirst and arrows break them. These campaigns drain resources, but they secure borders, letting Ashurbanipal claim mastery over the 4 regions of the world. Now, peel back the layers. How did Ashurbanipal win without always being on the front lines? Propaganda, my friends. That's the secret sauce. His palace walls in Nineveh burst with reliefs, not just pretty pictures, but mind warfare. Lion hunts. He's not just killing beasts, he's taming chaos, strangling lions barehanded to prove he's the ultimate protector. Battle scenes. Assyrians tall and heroic, enemies grotesque and cowering. Impaled bodies, severed heads hung from trees during royal banquets. Yes, he dined with his queen under a dangling enemy's skull. What rebel wouldn't think twice seeing that? Inscriptions amp it up, boasting in the god's voice. Ashur preferred me, the mighty king. He quotes enemies' lies, then crushes them, framing every win as cosmic order restored. These weren't hidden. They lined public spaces, temples, steely across the empire. Even his library plays a role. Wait, a library in a war story? Absolutely. Ashurbanipal, the Scholar King, amasses over 30,000 clay tablets in Nineveh, scavenging texts from conquered lands, omens, epics like Gilgamesh, medicine, stars. It's a knowledge vault. But is it just nerdy? Nah, it's power. By controlling history and wisdom, he shapes narratives, ensuring his propaganda lives forever. Imagine scribes copying tales of his glory, embedding fear in every line. Yet, for all the terror, there's a human side. He marries Libelisharat, depicts her in reliefs, a rare honor, feasting in gardens amid conquered spoils. He rebuilds after destruction, patrons arts, claims wisdom from the gods. But cracks show late. Illness plagues him. Family feuds simmer. Peripheries slip. By 631 BC, he's gone. Natural death. No drama, but his sons inherit a teetering giant. So, what lingers from Ashurbanipal's reign? This king, who blended brains and brutality, taught us that wars are won in minds as much as fields. His fear tactics echoes in modern psychological operations, the propaganda. Think of today's media spins, but here's a thought-provoking twist. Was his library a genuine quest for knowledge, or just another tool to immortalize his terror? Did collecting ancient wisdom soften his legacy or amplify it? Ponder that maybe he was the original information warrior. If this sparked your curiosity, drop a comment. What's the scariest propaganda you've seen in history? Like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more tales that make the past pulse with life. Until next time, keep questioning the kings.